Let's go. A little quarterback school live. Jay Baroza coming in hot. Jesus. Salud. My man. Trap line. Appreciate everybody coming in, saying what's good. Been a hot minute. The draft has come and gone. Excited to talk a little bit of draft, I'm sure. Get into some draft, get into some ball. That's not a good sign. Right out the gate, we're spilling shit. Oh, man, this is going to be a disaster. Hold on, watch this. Really, dog? We're going to go sweatshirt. You know, that's what you guys are here for. Man, this is one of my favorite sweatshirts, too. At least it's just soda water. I was actually thinking about doing a liquid lunch because it's the first time I don't have anything this afternoon in a long time. Now we're just going to go wet sweatshirt. Jesus, what a start. Fucking start over. All right, let's go. Excited to come in here and talk some ball, I guess. Spill shit all over myself. I see some stuff in the chat that I might as well get out the way right away. The O'Connell stuff, Aiden O'Connell, Jaron Hall. The reason you're not going to see stuff here or not get my thoughts on them is not because I dislike them. I've just never seen them play. I didn't get film of them. I don't really have any like crazy burning desire to go watch guys that have already been drafted at this point. If they're good enough, we'll get some film in the league, and I'm sure we'll do videos on them, but that's kind of the honest truth of that part of it. So I don't get film of every single quarterback that's ever coming into the draft. We'll see. See what it looks like moving forward. Michael's checking in from France. We're going international. I appreciate you guys coming in. Hit that like button. I always enjoy hearing where you're from, where you're checking in from, especially if it's not the States. CB, Indy, living that Indy dream. Okay, I see you there with the Richardson. I like it. Couldn't be happier. All right. Yeah, I mean, everybody, I feel like post-draft is one of my favorite times to be an NFL fan, like a Rob Lowe NFL fan, where you're just, people are feeling good. Even if your draft, even if people are like kind of whatevering your team's draft, it's hard to be too much in the dumpster post-draft because everybody probably got better, even if your draft was kind of, had some hilarious takes on certain regards. And I personally really, really, really dislike, Kieran, you're a hot second away from being, I don't even know how you do it, but I'm sure I can mute you or block you, bro, if you keep asking the same question that I'm not going to answer. The grade thing for me post-draft, it's not my favorite thing. There are a lot of things of the draft that are not my favorite thing, but the post-draft grades are not for me. So won't see any of that stuff. We've got Brazil in the house. Appreciate it. We got all Carolina Panthers fans. You got to be feeling pretty good. I will say just like a quick synopsis of my own kind of draft experience this year. I wanted to watch it, wanted to do some lives post-draft. It just didn't work out. Stuff comes up, life comes up. And so I didn't really watch any of it. I, for the most part, know where guys went that we followed on the channel. I will say that at some point I'm going to go back and figure out what happened with the Texans and the draft. So my understanding, without diving into the depths of it, they traded what I would consider a decent amount of draft capital for Will Anderson. I don't really understand why, and I'm sure people smarter than I am have made good points, kind of pro and con about it. I still don't really understand what they were doing. Now maybe Will Anderson is that guy and is a sure ballot Hall of Famer, and they made a great trade. I didn't understand. I remember thinking, oh, that's got to be a misprint when I saw the ticker where I was on Thursday night, just like looking at it like that's weird. But then I just haven't gotten back to it because I don't really care. We got the UK checking in. Slippery Rock. Some good D2 football out there back in the day. All right, let's get into some questions. I saw some CJ transitions early into the league. Will he struggle? Giselle. Yeah, I mean, everybody struggles when they first come into the league. I think you're always going to it's nothing that is ever going to be a smooth transition from college football to the league very often for a quarterback specifically. I think it's even exaggerated or even more compounded when you're an early pick because the team that you're going to is so bad. And even if you get 2 first-round picks 1 year, you're not going to flip an NFL roster in 1 year's draft very often, if ever. So yeah, there's going to be some struggles. I saw some people that are already picking like the Houstons to be their kind of like division winner this year and stuff like that. I think that part of it is just fun, really fan or talking head talk. I think the Houston Texans still have significant holes across their roster. But I'm excited to see CJ Stroud. I think he's going to not surprise a lot of people because we saw it on his film, but I think he's going to be more of a playmaker, run a little bit more, create a little bit more than maybe he was asked to do at Ohio State. That would be the first thing I would show that he could do. And then just want to be able to see that kind of level of production, the ball placement, the accuracy, just kind of continue to thrive and improve and refine and just become more and more precise as he kind of fights to get that organization relevant and winning. Dante. Dante, I am just not great about talking about fit and best teams. Like, I just don't spend enough time knowing organizationally what they're looking for fit-wise or not. I can tell you just from the top, let's just talk about the top handful of guys, like 5-ish guys. If I was a quarterback, where I would want to go would probably be Carolina, just because of kind of the infrastructure it looks like is set up for that position to be successful in Carolina with Frank and company. Now, we'll see, to be determined, right? I think CJ Stroud is in probably a more difficult situation in Houston. Anthony Richardson, I think, potentially could be in a really good situation. I know people, well, I shouldn't say people. The TV that I've watched seems to be at a consensus with Anthony Richardson that he needs more time to maybe not mature, like refine his skill set before he's able to play. I don't know how you look at anybody else on the Indianapolis roster and think that guy gives us a better chance to win than Anthony Richardson. Yeah, are there going to be some bumps? Yeah, the guy's only played a certain amount of ball, but come on, man. We drafted the guy 4th overall for a reason. He's playing. So I personally would play him. He would be in the number 1 huddle the first time he walks into practice. I know some old school coaches, would probably frown upon that. Guy's going to earn it, whatever. The guy's drafted 4th overall. He doesn't have to earn shit. He earned that opportunity getting drafted 4th overall. So I want to play him. Will Levis is a little bit different of a situation. I mean, I think I tweeted out over the weekend, just like the film is the film with Will Levis. I wasn't surprised where Will Levis went. I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have continued to kind of sit there for a little bit longer. I think Tennessee is a weird situation just because of, the track record with Tannehill, how he's played. I think Will Levis could certainly come in there and eventually compete with that. But they drafted a guy, Malik Willis was a 3rd round last year. It certainly didn't look like he was given a great opportunity to thrive, so I'd be a little nervous if I was Will Levis with that opportunity. And then, what's the next one? Hendon Hooker in Detroit. That's got the potential to be a pretty awesome spot. It really does. I think that, depending on, I know that they're everyone's darling right now in the NFC North. I probably am a little bit more bullish on the Bears than others, but we'll see. I mean, I think that Hendon Hooker, once he gets healthy and can kind of, capitalize on what they're doing offensively there, which is a lot of fun stuff. I think when you look across the landscape of the league with what Detroit was able to do run game wise, kind of come out of nowhere offensively, I think they've got a potential to be a really good spot as well. Boom. Tomorrow we are going to do Drake May. What game did I do of Drake May already today? The Holiday Bowl. It was a pretty good game. Really good game. There were some really good throws in that game. I think you guys are really going to dig that video. It wasn't maybe as kind of like mind-blowing as I would have hoped. This is not a comparison. Okay, but the hype that I remember about Will Levis this time last year reminds me of the hype that I hear about Drake May. And when I turn on the film, it's not that the film is bad. There's a lot to like. But when I look at Caleb Williams and I look at Drake May, I don't see any sort of like, oh, this guy could be 1 or could be 2. We could flip it. Like, I don't. Now, I've only watched 3 games. But the 3 games that I've watched, I feel like people have told me those are the games. What was off the top of my head? I think it was Notre Dame, Pitt, and now the Holiday Bowl. So we'll see. I'm certainly going to keep watching it, and we'll see. It could certainly. I've changed my mind before, so that's kind of the mindset I am kind of moving forward. But I'm excited to watch a little bit more of the guys who are coming back to college football next year. That will probably be draftable guys in 24. Appreciate everybody checking in as you come in. Crush that like. Keep this chat going here. Try to get into some more detailed questions here as I stop talking so much on certain topics that I want to hit on as we come out of the draft cycle. Wink with the jokes. Okay, I like it. Flying Hawaiian. I talked about a little bit about Aiden O'Connell and Hall earlier in the live. You're more than welcome to go back to it. I don't have any thoughts on it. Not because I'm have anything negative to say about those guys. I just haven't watched them play. So I'm just kind of making stuff up before I were to have any sort of opinion at all. Okay. Dave's all in on Anthony Richardson already. Got the jersey going. Griffin Harbolt, when you coached, how did you establish your fall practice and why that specific way? Ooh, Griffin, this could be a course. This could certainly be a video. Our fall practices were a little unique, I would say, for many schools. We practiced in the morning. I like to practice in the morning for a number of different reasons. I'm a morning person. I had probably my other main coach who did it with me. Has a real job and has places to be and has a family, and so we didn't necessarily want to, burn whatever work we were doing at the time to be over there at 3:30 or 4, and then miss dinner and do all those types of things that I think come with kind of how you can potentially practice at high school. So the timing of it was a little weird. I was also and still am a big fan of 90-minute practices. Now we hedged that a little bit on the front end, sometime with teaching periods. But we were essentially 90 minutes on, 90 minutes off, get what we can get through. There were a number of benefits for me of practicing in the morning. It'd actually be a pretty good idea for a video that I could probably do if I wanted to share the tricks of the trade. I don't think they're that secret anymore, but I thought it really helped us with a competitive advantage over the course of, a season or certainly number of years of being able to work at a program. You get kind of what I consider extra practices in, specifically that last practice on Thursday. You kind of get an extra practice because a lot of teams will take that Thursday practice in high school and make it like a walkthrough. Where we practiced before school, I felt like they had enough time to rest. We basically treated it like another practice. So we never really had that true walkthrough practice unless we wanted to do a Friday morning or after school Friday practice. Those would be kind of the main ones. And then we just chunked it like normal things. The other period that I felt like we got away from the more that I coached high school football was just we didn't do a whole lot of 7-on-7. I just thought it didn't provide significant value for us. We didn't throw the ball very much, and so there were better ways for us to spend our time. We also didn't do blitz period just because we were so tempo oriented. It was hard to get us with a lot of like crazy exotic pressures. All right, enough about high school practice planning. Oh, Sean Clifford to the Bay. No thoughts, bro. Haven't watched any of Sean Clifford either, so I apologize for that. Carlos, what's up, JT? As a Ravens fan, I'm happy for Lamar and the drama to finally be over. Yes, I think we all are happy with the drama to finally be over with that, which I think was a fair win-win between the organization and a player. Yeah, I mean, I think the way that these contracts go, I'm certainly happy for Lamar Jackson. I still think he left money on the table. That's just my own kind of opinion about it. I'm glad he got paid. I'm glad he got what he wanted. I hope that it's a relationship that can continue to thrive. I think you can pretend that negotiating a salary won't have an impact if you eventually come to a deal. How you ask for a trade, how you come back from that when you're doing the negotiations. He's certainly probably a much stronger person than I am, but it would certainly impact my working relationship. We'll see what it looks like moving forward, but I'm certainly glad he got paid, and I'm glad that he'll seemingly be in a little bit of a different / better situation offensively there. I'm fascinated to see what it looks like. Not that I didn't like, well, that's not true. There were certainly elements of Greg Roman stuff that I thought was, hilarious passing game wise, but I also respected the hell out of how he went about what they did uniquely there. And so to be able to keep doing that and build a more robust kind of professionalized passing game, can they blend that now? We'll see. I appreciate y'all coming in. Again, many of y'all that are in here probably know about the Quarterback School Patreon community. This group really is the foundation, the bedrock. I'm excited to dive into some real long-term, kind of deeper content over there here pretty soon here as we come into this kind of like summer lull for football. I know the NFL still has their schedule to release, but then there always kind of feels this kind of like July, June off time where you get mini camps and things kind of slow down a little bit. So I'm excited to dive into some detailed stuff that I've wanted to tackle over there and just haven't gotten to just because the draft and other reasons. So excited to get into some ball over there. Again, as you come in, smash that like, do what you do. I appreciate it. And let's keep talking ball here. Texans could have gotten JSN at 12, then drafted Marvin Harrison next year. Could have had the Houston Buckeyes. Yeah, the Houston Buckeyes would be something. What is the other one that I keep hearing now? Oh, the Philly Bulldogs or the whatever the hell they are, North Georgia. I think the Georgia thing is fascinating, man. I'm just excited that they obviously everybody loved that Georgia defense 2 years ago, right? How could you not be a fan of college football and enjoy what they were? And to basically transplant so many of the best players from that defense onto the same NFL defense seems pretty cool to me. I'm not necessarily a Phillies fan, an Eagles fan, but I'm fascinated to see what that looks like. I am a little, I'm not really surprised. I think sometimes teams can get scared off guys, especially in the draft process when it's just hard to be like, hey, many of these teams I think can support guys who maybe don't have the greatest kind of off-field background, like where they're all kind of Boy Scouts all the time. This is not a news flash to people, but just to reiterate it here, no football team at any level wants a team full of Boy Scouts. It's hard to play good football when you've got a team full of really nice guys. And so I'm not saying you want guys out there, on the kind of crime wave and certainly doing anything outside the jurisdictions of the law, but let's not pretend that everybody makes great decisions when they're in their late teens and kind of early 20s. And so to be able to say, hey, we'll give you a second chance. Hey, we've got the scaffolding to support you. Hey, I saw a lot of people saying, well, I'm not even going to get into it, but I'm fascinated to see what the Eagles look like defensively here for the next few years because, man, they've got some talented dudes up front. Boom. Chris Saras, do you see Sam Darnold resurrecting his career in San Fran, or is he just a depth play? I could see both of those things working out. I think if I was Sam Darnold, there's no other spot I would want to be more than there. Obviously, you'd love to be at the number one somewhere and be playing. But like as a guy who's not going to walk into a job or not going to walk into a job where he can compete for a job, if you're ever going to play somewhere, again, and you think you want to play at the highest level possible, that system, that organization has certainly proven that you can be a quarterback, go there, win. Now, can you go there, win, and then trampoline that into a real opportunity somewhere else? Because I'm not sure, he would ever necessarily get the opportunity. Not ever. It would be highly unlikely for him to ever play so well that he's the guy for sure and have that kind of Brock Purdy kind of second half of the season. But maybe. That's where I would want to go if I was Sam Darnold, especially with the health concerns going on there. It just seems like a great opportunity to play with a lot of supporting cast and an organization that does offense at a high level. Notorious TBG. I don't have any thoughts on Tyson. I don't know. I've never seen him play, so I'm sure people put up crazy stats at different levels. I know a guy who used to play D2 ball. Had some good stats. All right, couple more here. We got 100 of our closest friends in here. I appreciate y'all hanging out. A little midday, Monday. What day is it? Audi. Which QB that got drafted in the 3 to 6 rounds do you feel the best about, either because of the talent or because of the spot they were drafted? Ooh. I mean, I don't feel good about anybody. I mean, so much of it, and I feel like I repeat myself a lot on this channel, but the lives especially. So much of this shit is luck. Where you go, okay, what the organization looks like, what the depth chart looks like, what the health looks like of the guys ahead of you. When you play, do you get an opportunity to thrive? Do you get an opportunity to win the job? Are you healthy? All those types of things. I think that, the guys that I was most excited about coming into the draft are probably the same guys that I'm excited about. DTR. Part of me is excited about Stetson Bennett, just because I do feel like he is a little bit better than probably I give him credit for, just because I still remember Stetson Bennett 2021, early part of the season, and I just can't imagine that guys have gotten that much better since then, but maybe he has. That will be fascinating to see what goes on with the Rams. Not that that's a good situation by any means, but those two guys are probably the ones that jump out from the jump for me. CB, have you ever, or have you witnessed a quarterback trash talking to a defense pre-snap at the pro level? Sure. That happens all the time. Well, in practice, for sure, it happens all the time. In a game, I'm sure it does happen. Pre-snap. Yeah, I mean, I would say in practice, it's kind of par for the course. In the game, it would be a little bit harder, just because you're, most of the time you're doing stuff pre-snap. So like if you were to get under center, I can remember being like a clown a couple times under center, talking smack, but like you can't really talk that much because you're saying the cadence, right? So like, and then if you're speaking the cadence and talking shit to someone, you're going to mess up the offensive line. It's going to be a weird, it's just not the normal rhythmical cadence that you need. Now, maybe you could do it before you started the cadence. Sure. I know that I've certainly gone back and forth with guys before, but not necessarily like, like what you think of like movies talking trash. Oh man, C-Dub wants to get into the weeds here. Is there a pre-snap look defensively that would convince you to audible out of a bubble screen? Sure. Double press. Does it make it more difficult to run if the defense is in press man? There you go. I read your mind. Yeah, you don't want to throw a bubble in press man. You could theoretically like cross block it, where the protector, who has the most dangerous, if this guy's the blocker and this guy's getting the bubble from over here like this, you could go crack that guy. But if the blocker's guy came off, it's a disaster. Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. The easiest way to think about bubbles is I think of it as the opposite. And I would say it's pretty rare to ever audible out of a bubble, because most of the time you'll have something complementary with the bubble that will be good versus press man, I would imagine, if you're around any sort of like well-constructed offense. But it's just a numbers game out there. If you have 3 people for a bubble and they've only got 2 defenders out there, well then let's do it. If they've only got 1 defender out there for a 2-person bubble, let's do it. So to me, it's more mathy numbers wise than necessarily coverage wise. Ty C, thoughts on Tua considering retirement? Are there ways to keep yourself safer while playing quarterback? Oh man, that's a massive question. Yeah, I think anybody who has health concerns, let alone multiple concussions, should absolutely weigh their options as far as potentially never playing again. I think that if you didn't do that, I would have questions. I think it would be really hard to walk away. Myself personally, I can imagine it would be really hard for him as well. Are there safer ways to play quarterback? I mean, it's pretty safe nowadays. I mean, it's comparatively to what it was. I mean, sure, we could make it flag football and it would be a little bit safer, I guess. But like, with keeping the integrity of the game, how much safer could it get? I'm sure that there will continue to be improvements with the helmet. That's always a thing that hits that I think about. I was almost going to say hits me hard with the helmet, just because if there's any way to make it softer is not the right word, but where I always think of it as, I think a lot of people think of football and the helmet as a weapon, and maybe that's just because I'm played a long time ago. But whenever it's less about it as a weapon and more about it protecting you from hitting the ground. So I think many of the concussions, people think, oh, he got blindside hit, blasted. I'm sure that does happen, but for me, my hardest hits were always not the hit from the other player, but the hit from the ground. And so anything to help that protection, I think, will continue to make the game safer and safer, and that's beyond my capacity. What else we got here? Oh, that's a good question. Fork Tail Devil. Why don't they wear those padded helmets from practice in games? I would imagine it's just an aesthetic thing. Yeah, I mean, if it is safer, why wouldn't you do it? I wonder why. I'm sure that there's a reason why. I've never thought about it, but that would make sense. I've just always thought that eventually the helmet will be almost like the big hat, where it's so safety oriented that if you could make it lighter and bigger, but also softer, yeah, you'd have to get over the look of it being different. But if we're really talking about player safety, then it seems like it's a pretty simple thing to do, right? I don't know. We'll see. I think that stuff like that, there you go. You'd have to show the logo. Yeah, I mean, you could have the logo on the padded stuff too. I don't know. Either way, I think the game will continue to evolve. I've just always thought that the helmet was like, you see shoulder pads getting smaller. You see everything getting smaller. You're not going to have the helmet get smaller necessarily to protect yourself more. Maybe if a different material or something, but East Coast Gridiron. Ba-boom. Appreciate you. Coming in hot with the membership. I feel like I don't do a great job pumping up the membership on these channels on this live, but I do appreciate you becoming a member. It's always, if you're interested in or you're upset that I don't call out your questions in the chat, I usually try my hardest to make sure that I get all the membership questions answered first. They're usually people and names that I recognize from being in the chat before. So it's an easy way to do that if that is something you are so inclined. Otherwise, I feel like I try to do a decent job of making sure that some people are not hijacking the chat, but some people ask better questions than others. It's also part of it. Oh, man. I took off my Padres thing on here. Yeah, man. I don't think I'm not nervous yet, but I'm not feeling good about the Padres. That's for sure. I still do love watching them. I still do love all the talent at the front of the order. And so we'll see. Micah, ba-boom. Was good. East Coast Gridiron, the new member coming in hot with some Trevor Lawrence. What is the ceiling and floor for Trevor Lawrence in your opinion? I mean, he's already at least at the floor, right? I still feel his arm and decision-making are lacking. You think his arm is lacking? I'm still not sold as a Jags fan. What do you need to be sold on, bro? A Super Bowl? I mean, he's definitely, I would say, an emerging star in the league, if not already on that kind of potential trajectory. I mean, he overcame an absolute shit show the first year, comes in there with an adult as a quarterback coach and the head coach, and it looks pretty good. I would continue to expect him to get better and better. I'm not going to necessarily agree with you on the arm. I think the decision making will continue to improve as Doug gets a little bit more. I just feel like the stuff he was running at Clemson, when I turn on the Clemson film, it doesn't look like Sunday football. It looks like college-y spread, gimmicky a little bit. There are certainly things that they carried over, but the volume, the detail, it's not the same that you're going to be asked to do consistently on Sunday. So as that becomes kind of saturated into his game and his understanding, I think you should expect Trevor to get better and better, and would be shocked if the 5-star kind of golden one for many years doesn't turn into a really good, if he's not already a really good NFL quarterback. Boom. Hennessy Black. No thank you, but thanks for thinking of me. Oh, man. Bathon. Did you see the comments from the Colts GM? I can say it immediately. No, I did not. No matter what comments you're talking about all the negative stories pushed on some of the guys in this year's draft. No, but I would imagine I don't really I guess I can say I don't really understand a lot of kind of the last month before the draft as far as the craziness. A good example this year obviously would be the CJ Stroud like test score thing that only half the league even pays for. I just anticipate those kind of nonsense things coming in. What was the other one that got me a little bit? Oh, I got home late on the first draft night and turned on the TV, and everything was just like Will Levis not drafted, and then all this like, excuses. I remember talking about a toe or something, or like why he didn't get drafted, and people, I feel like, need to the way that it's covered is so in depth and all over and it's just everything is like, they want the story, life-changing money. People love that element of the draft, and so when that doesn't happen, people try to make sense of it by filling in, X, Y, Z narrative about why, as opposed to just actually watching the film. Like, watch the film. And I know it's a little bit harder for the quarterback position, and it's a little bit easier for me because that's all that I do on the channel, to be able to speak with any sort of like personal authority, but it's just my opinion. But like, you turn on the film, I feel like the 3 guys that got drafted 1, 2, 4 had better film than Will Levis. That's not even projecting fit, scheme. That will, to me, was pretty self-evident. Obviously, there was some disconnect with all the betting markets and all that shit that seemingly is fucking everywhere, man. When I turn on ESPN, I watched ESPN for like 5 minutes before I came on here today, and there was some random dude in front of like a fake wall of green that's now like a betting analyst that I never fucking heard of, that I don't even care, and that I couldn't believe was on ESPN. That's no shot at that cat. I don't know who that cat is. But like, when it became that important, obviously they're sponsors of the show, probably some sport gambling thing. But like, when they're talking about numbers moving and betting things, and this guy's supposed to be the probability of getting draft number 2, the film was the film, man, and it never changed. And it just never changed for me. And because I don't necessarily have to fill hours and hours of content, that I don't have to come up with random excuses about why someone's dropping, the film wasn't good enough. The film of the other guys was better. Alexander Wilson, ba-boom, coming in. Appreciate you. Barney Miller coming in, ba-boom. Appreciate you as well. Membership. All right, Alexander Wilson. As a QB, how important is the speed, velocity, and angle of the center snapping the ball to the quarterback, and was your preference for hiking the ball to you? Yeah, all those things. I would add size of rear is also important. There's a sweet spot. This is going to sound a little bit off the rails, but I can tell you, you don't want to take snaps from a skinny cat. That's just my opinion. You also don't want to take snaps from someone who probably weighs 400 pounds, because you don't know where the hell to put your hand. So there's a sweet spot for the size, the speed, the velocity, the angle. I would say the best centers can anticipate and be really consistent. I think the hardest part when you're talking about taking a snap under center, The hardest part for me was being reverse footwork. So meaning if we're going to the left on a run, I have to turn to my right. So you're reversing out. So it's called what I used to call it. Yeah, reverse footwork. So say we have a wide handoff to the left, like outside zone or stretch to the left, and we're under center. Well, that center is probably reaching to his left. So he's stepping with his left foot and snapping, and you are turning to the right. So he's going to the left, you're turning to the right. So you've got to kind of ride his crack and spin the other way. That's the hardest. Those are probably the hardest ones for me. The thing, I know I've said it on this channel before, but it bears repeating when I talk about center exchange. Anytime there's a fumble in the quarterback center exchange, I usually think that if the quarterback can jump back on the ball, the center probably missed the target. If the quarterback doesn't jump back on the ball, it's probably because he's pulling out and doesn't have the ability to jump back on it. That's probably an oversimplification, but kind of worked out the majority of the time in my career. How I practiced it as a coach was we just didn't take snaps under center ever. Not one in 3 years, never a snap under center. Did dead ball shotgun snap. In fact, we never had a ball go over someone's head. The first 2 years, we never had a bad snap. The last year, had a guy who hadn't played a lot of football playing center. In a few of the bigger games, he rolled a couple grounders back there, but we were able to make sense of it. All right, Barney Miller, appreciate the membership support. Let's see what you got here question-wise. Put you on blast right away. Zach Wilson, does he actually get better as A-Rod's backup for a couple of years? I mean, potentially. You know, I think it will be certainly a challenge. He can say all those things about, I'm going to make this guy's life hell or shit like that. Like, that shit's all bluster to me. It really is. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. Like, I want to see what can you learn from Aaron, from seeing someone who is a Hall of Famer. Now, you might not be able to do exactly what he does, but you can take things away from him. You don't have to ask him like, hey, how do you read this? Or how do we do this? Or can we go get lunch together? You can just watch how he operates and soak in things that you can help in your game. And does he have the capacity to do that? You know, I'm not going to artificially put a cap on him and say he can or can't. I think most people, you know, if you're around quote unquote greatness or someone who does their job at a really high level, you can hijack shit for yourself and make it your own. And so that's what he's going to need to do. Oh man, we got Jesuit in the house here. Ha. Green glass full. JT, Jesuit, class of 95. Yikes. No. What's up, man? You think Trey Lance gets traded prior to day one of the season or nah? I don't think so. You know, maybe I would feel differently if Brock Purdy was healthy and if they had won the Super Bowl, or let's just pretend he was healthy. If he's not healthy, you know, are you comfortable going into the season with Sam Darnold as the quarterback and, you know, whoever else they have on the roster? Probably not. You know, I don't know. I feel like I'm off on my own here a little bit with this. And this is probably not a popular take with the 49er faithful. But why wouldn't you want to keep him? He was the third pick. You gave up all this draft capital because you believed in him. Yeah, it hasn't worked out perfectly now. But what's more likely? Okay, what's more likely? The number 3 overall pick in the draft develops in your system, or the last pick of the draft continues an unbelievable run, performance, kind of ability to play at such a high level. You know, I probably would think the number 3 pick overall, probably over the long haul, has a better opportunity to be the guy that we thought he was, as opposed to catching lightning in a bottle for more than 2 months. Now, I don't watch them practice every day. Maybe Trey is terrible at practice. Maybe, you know, it's always been Brock Purdy. But for me, and I'm not moving off Trey Lance, especially with an unhealthy Brock Purdy. But boom, my man Tyler coming in hot. Hot. Appreciate you. What you got, though? Now the pressure's on. Will Justin Fields be able to go through his reads and make a jump in the 2023 season with an improved offensive line? I I look for Justin Fields to absolutely make a jump. Now, maybe my kind of process of thinking about a jump is probably less linear than a lot of like Bear fans out there. He's still going to have ups and downs. In my opinion, they still don't have what I consider like a top tier perimeter talent. Like even suffering through that draft, like you still have to relive that fucking Claypool trade again. And I know I feel like I'm swearing more than I normally do on the channel, but some of these things are just like, damn, bro. Like we have to relive Claypool for what, the number 33 pick or something ridiculous? So yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to a finished product, but I would absolutely continue to expect him to get significantly better. Now, it might be a little bit of an oversimplification to say just get through your reads, because I think he was getting through reads early on, but he was getting hit. And then he kind of found that, then he basically overreacted and became like a runner, like, yo, I'm out. Like now people think of him as like the quarterback runner. I think that there's that, I don't like the word balance, so I'll say it, but then I'll explain why I don't like it. Balance to me implies 50-50. I think there's a harmony, kind of a sweet spot that Justin Fields can feel where he can create, run, they can call design runs, and he can continue to develop as a pocket passer. That's where I would want to see the improvement. But boom, Alexander coming in hot again. Appreciate all the support. We've got 130-ish of our closest friends in here. Do me a favor as you come in, hit that like button for me. Oh man, it's already 12:30. I got a couple more in me, but appreciate Alexander. Can an NFL quarterback learn anticipation? Yes. Any quarterback can learn anticipation, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be an NFL quarterback. For example, in Washington, they tried to teach it to Jason Campbell, but his teammates said he just couldn't do it in the games. I was around Jason Campbell. To me, it's not that he couldn't do it. So, well, let's talk about this. Pull this thing apart a little bit. We can use Jason Campbell as an example if you want, but the anticipation thing has multiple components for me. It's yes, does the quarterback have the capacity to do it? Meaning, it comes more naturally to some guys than others. Like you can anticipate, the vision to know where you're supposed to throw the ball before someone's there, I think can come instinctively to certain guys more than others. The flip side of that, or the other main lane, is that the system has to allow you to do that. So if you're in an air raid type vibe where guys are running to space, you have to see them run. Think maybe Tennessee's offense, that brow stuff, deep choice stuff. You can't anticipate in that because guys are doing stuff down the field and you don't know what the hell they're doing. As opposed to a more NFL type pro style offense that has a lot more details and you have to be where you're supposed to be and you're not allowed to fool the quarterback. Well, then you can anticipate because you know exactly where they're supposed to be. You got to be at 20 yards on the numbers at this time. Well, then I can anticipate you being there. If you can go up there, read, curl, post, out, go, well, then who the hell knows where you're going to go? I got to see where you go, and then I got to rip it. So that's the other part of it. And so just anecdotally for me, I've taught guys at the high school level to throw with anticipation as young high school players during pandemics. They're out there as sophomores ripping comebacks with anticipation. So it's certainly doable. Now, can you do it with every receiver, every route concept versus every coverage? Nah, I mean, that's where it gets harder, where you get more experience. But so much of it for me is the accountability, the structure, the system, the details that allow a quarterback to throw with anticipation. It's hard to just go out in the park and start ripping curls to random strangers that you don't know where the hell, where they're even going to practice. Like, for instance, I've seen some guys get on, this used to drive me bananas, bro, get on high school quarterbacks for not throwing with anticipation when they're out there on their 7-on-7 games and they're playing in like a soccer field where there's no lines, there's barely a hash, there's no numbers. How the hell are you supposed to throw with anticipation where you don't know where the hell the receiver is going to be? You can't. And so the structure has to be there for him to be able to do that. And when I was around Jason Campbell, for example, I was in Oakland. Hugh was the coordinator. We were running like old school shitty West Coast. there wasn't a whole lot of anticipation down the field besides throwing a slant. Like there just wasn't. Maybe a glance, maybe a speed out. There weren't a lot of like, there weren't like deep drive throws where you're ripping deep ends or daggers into the hole. There just wasn't. And so to think that Jason was going to go out there and thrive as an anticipation thrower, it just wasn't what they were asking him to do. Now, were they not asking him to do it because he couldn't do it, or because the system doesn't allow you to do it consistently? It can be all the above. Ian. Hey, JT, what do you not enjoy about NFL broadcasts? I'm a broadcast major and want to know how we can improve and tweak things. Oh, man. That's a big one. Let's think about how I want to answer this. I will often find myself muting most games. That's kind of the polite way to say it. My favorite play-by-play situations in maybe other sports are when I feel like they add layers to the game that I can't get from just a pretty good understanding of watching the ball, if that makes sense. So I think watching the ball in football means being able to describe things that maybe aren't on the television broadcast in any sort of like precise, concise manner, to be able to explain why they're doing this as opposed to what just happened. Like, that's a great slant. Well, thanks, bro. It's a big, chunk. How did we get there? Why did they do that? Those elements of it in kind of real speak, not like crazy, heavy jargon that makes you seem like you're a lot smarter than the person that's listening or watching. Boom. Steve. Anthony. Alexander. Man, we're coming in hot. I'm not going to be able to stop this live. Steve, Coach, you've been doing a good job. Here's a few dollars, a solid 10 minutes of electricity on me. You're the man. I might need some, what do they call them? I think they actually have terms for the people that are kind of the chat cops, to be able to make sure I don't get someone to hijack this thing. I've only had people hijack the chat a few times, and I feel like I blocked them or muted them at some point. But I appreciate the offer and the nice little tip, super chat. Alexander, to follow up, Chris Cooley said when Campbell got injured and Todd Collins came in, he could 3-step drop and have the ball on you before his head turned, and they won 5 straight games and made the playoffs. I remember this. Todd Collins was also old as hell, and I can say that as an old as hell guy. A veteran cat who'd probably been in a bunch of different systems, who definitely could be able to anticipate throw it. So yeah, there's certainly an element of being able to see it before, so you have a little bit more experience being able to know how to do it. I can tell you that my anticipation got a lot better when I saw Brad Johnson play in person. Well, I can tell you that first time I watched Jeff Garcia play in the West Coast system, I think I was with New Orleans. The 49ers came to New Orleans and beat us pretty good, and I thought Jeff played like out of his mind. And because I knew many of the plays, he just played them faster than we were playing them in New Orleans. And I thought his anticipation, the way he played, was really good. And then watching Brad Johnson practice every day when I was with the Vikings, that dude threw with crazy anticipation. And the Bull is my guy. And the Bull is really athletic and coordinated, but the Bull was throwing changeups. And I threw changeups. And so I was like, man, if he can throw with anticipation like that, I can hijack a lot of that stuff to be able to do it. And I don't know where he got it from exactly, but both those guys had probably played a lot of ball. And so it comes with a little bit of, it doesn't come just from randomly experience, because you see guys like Elway who were ripping the ball all the time, but it comes from being forced to do it, and you get better at it, more refined, the more you see yourself do it, and you can see other guys do it at a really high level. When you're in the league, I think one of the most fun things that I didn't know about until I was in it was you really do get a chance to watch a lot of these guys who are the best of the best in person. I remember watching Peyton Manning beat the shit out of us. Jesus, where was it? It was in Detroit. It might have been on Thanksgiving. I don't think it was on Thanksgiving, because I think Brett Favre was the Thanksgiving game. That was like a Wrangler commercial. But I remember Peyton Manning coming in to Detroit, and it was essentially a practice on air. He destroyed us, and he was throwing balls like a half hour early. He was throwing middle field posts, and the guy was barely leaving the line of scrimmage. And I was like, this is next level. And corners or deep outs. And it was just like seeing that, or like seeing the Rams back in the day. I remember watching Kurt Warner and Mark Bulger even do pregame warm-up, throwing deep outs and ins, being like, this is crazy anticipation. And so those things kind of bleed into your subconscious, and you want to throw like that. You want to be that. You want to get that kind of anticipation, but it doesn't happen by accident. The Bull does some great trick shots. If you do, if you're a big fan of Brad Johnson, he's got some pretty good trick shots out there. All right, y'all. I appreciate you guys coming in. Oh man, super chat, super sticker, my guy, Mr. Bryant CM. Oh, he took it back. Pump fake. It's all right, dude. I had fun with this chat. Oh, well over 100 of us hanging out today. We'll try to do more and more of these here. I know everybody's still excited because the draft is going. Jake Thornton thinks that Mike Martz invented the RPO with Bulger and the Rams. I don't think so, bro. We'll leave it at that. I see a couple more questions here. Let me get to. Sorry. Pump faked you guys on the end. King. Hey, JT, Coach JT. It's just JT, bro. No coaching. What are the coaching points or dirties you use to help QBs and high school wide receivers learn option read routes? Oh, man, that takes a lot of work, bro. Those, I feel like, take more investment than maybe they're probably worth at the high school level. Now, I think we did them quite a bit early on, and I think it's one of those ones where you have to teach everybody, right? And then you have to get in a line where all the wide receivers or all the eligibles get a chance to practice it. But in reality, in the game, there's only like one or two guys that are going to be your option runners, really. And so making sure that you refine those reps with the guys who are actually going to do it was one of my hardest things to do. I teach essentially like a 101 level and an advanced level. And so the 101 level is just run away from leverage. If there's nobody there, hook it up. If there's press man or we'll just say man, run away from leverage. I think as you get more advanced with the guys who will actually run it, I think that there's value in teaching someone how to cross technique or cross leverage. So if someone's inside leverage, say the ball's over here, the defender's inside leverage, I'm running an option route. Well, they want me to run out. They're anticipating undercutting me, like running out like two-man-ish. So I want to come up, pretend like I'm going out, let him undercut and come back over the top or vice versa. I think that part of it takes a lot more practice, but has maybe a better return on investment than just teaching run away from leverage. But you got to start somewhere. Ba-boom. All right, Mr. Brighton, CM is back. Has Tua been the QB you expected while evaluating his college tape? Has anything surprised or disappointed you? Sure. I mean, both. I think he is and was that super anticipator. I would hope that his arm continues to get stronger and stronger. I don't know if it will ever be like a top tier arm, but that part of it I think has the potential to be refined as he becomes more of a pro's pro as far as this is all he does, those types of things. I think the disappointed thing for everybody is just you want the guy to be healthy. You want him to be protected. You want him to feel like he's got the answers to protect himself at the line of scrimmage. And sometimes I feel like for whatever reason he doesn't. And it's weird because someone who has got the capacity to run the RPO system and throw with anticipation, you would think that process of getting the ball out faster needs to be accelerated with Tua. So if I was calling plays for him, I would want him getting the ball out of his hands so quickly that we could eliminate some of those hits. I think like, elder statesman Tom Brady type clock in our head. That's just me though. Alexander Wilson, the MVP of this live stream again. Cooley said what hurt Jason Campbell a lot was that he had 5 different OCs in his first 4 years. Yeah, that's tough, bro. And Jim Zorn was an awful coach. Someday, well, maybe I'll do it right now. I feel like I haven't given any sort of good stories this live. Maybe I should give my Jim Zorn story. How would that scenario affect quarterback's development? It would be a disaster. Alexander. It would be really, really hard at any level, let alone the NFL, to have more offensive coordinators than years. There's just no chance for any sort of stability, long-term success at all. Over the long haul, it might be a good thing for you to learn so many different systems, but probably not. I think that there's value in learning different systems over a course of being able to become a master in each system, a couple years in each system. But turning over a new system or a new terminology every year is a disaster for your development. I mean, you can't be successful playing NFL quarterback like that, in my opinion, for very long. All right, Joe, I'll tell the story for my man, Jim Zorn. First of all, let me preface this by saying Jim Zorn is a very nice guy. My little interactions I've had with him, nice guy. Okay, now let me paint the picture. It's my draft process coming out of UC Davis, our pro day at Davis. Didn't have all 32 teams there. I know that might be hard to believe, but had a decent amount. I want to say like 5-7 NFL teams. Maybe I'm underselling it, but that's kind of what I remember, 7-ish. And I went to the combine, so I was really focused on just throwing at my pro day. And for these pro days, it's a little different nowadays because there are like legitimate draft guru guys that I'm friends with, that like this is part of their job, where they run these pro days, and kind of it's a theater, where you're showing off all these types of throws and different workouts, and it's great theater. But back when I was going through it, one of the coaches or scouts that came to evaluate you would usually run the pro day. And so kind of the highest ranking football guy at my pro day was Jim Zorn. And I think he was the quarterback coach for Seattle at the time, maybe. But if you don't know who Jim Zorn was, he was a really good player. I think he might be on the Ring of Honor in Seattle. Either way, he's a good NFL quarterback. And my college head coach was a good college quarterback, played a little bit in the CFL. My college offensive coordinator, Mike Morosky, was a good long time. He was a good NFL quarterback. He played for like 8 years. And so he knew Jim. And so Jim ran my workout. And I don't have no memories of throwing like, the slants, the hitches, the outs, the posts, whatever. You do the whole workout, you do whatever they say. And then at the end, Jim Zorn is like, hey, let's play this game that a lot of quarterbacks play, that if you're a quarterback watching this, you've probably played. It's called, I don't even know what the name of it is called, but it's like a target game where you play catch like 10-ish yards, 15 yards apart. And if you throw it and the ball would hit your partner in the face, that's worth 2 points. If you throw it and it would hit them in the chest, that's worth 1 point. And you keep track of the score up until 10. Okay? It's a game that's played at a lot of camps. I didn't invent the game. Jim Zorn didn't invent the game. But I remember explicitly, like yesterday, Jim Zorn saying that he never lost this game. Ever. He never lost in his life this game. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm feeling pretty good. I just finished my workout. I'm going to play this game with this guy. Great. So throw it first. And the thing about this game is that the person who's catching the ball is usually the judge. So if it's like, boom, hits me right in the face, all right, you yell out like 2, 1, 2, none, 0, 0, 1, like where the ball would hit you. To this day, I still use this when I coach like Little League Baseball. So as I'm doing this with Jim Zorn, he's going like, I'd throw it right at his face. He'd be like, 0. Or he'd be like, 0. Or he'd be like, 1. And I was like, yo, I'm like, hey, coach, what's the score? And he'd be like, oh, like 1-4, you're losing. And I'd throw in like 3 in his face. And I remember thinking like, is this a test? Like, does he want me to tell him that he's cheating? Or should I not tell him that he's cheating and this should be a joke? Like, this is hilarious that he thinks he never loses, but he's fucking cheating. And like against a 21-year-old in some random field in Northern California. Like, why would he be cheating? This is so weird. And I don't think I remember calling him on it. I think I just like let it go. And I don't remember if I won or lost. But I definitely remember walking away thinking, yo, this old guy just cheated me on 2s and 1s. in this game for no reason. And he said he never loses, but he certainly got his ass kicked by me today. But he says he won. And this is the NFL. And I just remember being like one of many kind of first steps into the league where you're like, oh, it's not quite as kind of glamorous and filled with the integrity that you might think it is. And that's not, I would tell that story if Jim were sitting right here. Like that is, that was how awkward and bizarre it was. But I remember him thinking like, man, I'm getting cheated by Jim Zorn on my own field on my own pro day. It's crazy. All right. Be surprised how many like weird cheater stories I have like that. All right, that's a wrap. Hopefully you enjoyed the story. Thanks for hanging. If you haven't hit the like, hit the like. Be on the lookout for Drake May tomorrow. Other than that, have yourself a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I'll see you on the other side.